the latest update, Microsoft has improved the pie and donut charts. But have they really? As per the Microsoft Power BI blog, the latest update brings exciting enhancements to pie and donut charts. These improvements align with the recent updates to visuals like bars, columns, and lines, offering more consistent styling options across the platform. Before I give you my take on these improvements, let me walk you through all of them. So let's start from this classic donut chart. You see we have two measures in it, the sales and the difference from the sales to target. Now let's eliminate a couple of the features that don't help us for this exercise, and we can see all the changes a little bit better. So let's go to the format pane and turn off the title and the legend. Now everything is a bit more clear. So what are the changes? If we go to slices, now we have another option, and that is border. Now, if you expand it, we can see you can turn it on, and you can match the fill color, which kind of doesn't make sense. So let's turn this off. Next, you can change the color for all series, or for the sales series, or for the two target series. And one other thing that you can change now is the transparency of the border. So let's assume you would like to create a border around this visual that is a lighter gray, for example. Let's go to color and select, let's say, this light gray. Or let's choose another one. We'll choose a special color and we'll say F1, F1, F1. Perfect. Now from here you can play with the width, and let's say you can turn the width all the way up to 10 pixels. But for this exercise it's a bit too much. Let's reduce it down to 5 pixels. Now you see we have another option that we can play with. That is hide inner borders. If you turn it off, you see the borders between the series are disappearing. If you turn it off, the border appears again. So let's hide the borders for now. Now from here you can go to spacing and you can increase the radius, let's say something like 84%. I usually like my bars to be very thin. Now moving to color, you see for now you can't choose a color because you have all series selected. Now let's select the two target series and change its color to the same color we used for the border. Why? Because we want to create that effect that the line, the sales, are filling the donut. So let's get there and choose that color. Now that we've changed that color, you see it blends perfectly with the borders. Based on the fact that you might have or might have not reached the target, the sales measure will return different values and the color could fill the whole donut or part of the donut. And of course, from here you can play with the color for the sales as well, and you can say, I'd like something different, I'd like something darker, something like this. Perfect. So far so good. There are some problems with it, and I'll show them to you in a minute. What else can we do with the borders? Well, we can play with the transparency. So let's select all measures and set the transparency to, let's say, 50%. Well, hold on. This is not transparent, this just shows the color that we have for the measure itself. So this is something that I call hit and miss. I would have expected if I set the transparency, it will start showing the background, not the color of the measure. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's not quite an improvement. It's something they still need to work on. So, let's turn it back down to 0%. Now, what else can we do? Well, if we look in the color section, we see we have transparency as well. Let's see how this one behaves. So let's select the sales series and turn the transparency all the way to 100. And this one works as intended, as in we see the background of the visual. So why couldn't they do that for the borders as well? Well, that's something that only Microsoft knows. But since we now can do this, that gave me an idea of something that we can do with this. So let me show you something interesting. Here I have a donut chart that I've played with earlier. Now if I select the donut chart, For the sales series, I'll turn off the transparency to 100%. Now, because the transparency is at 100%, we can see the background of the visual, or we can see what's behind the visual if the visual has no background. And behind this visual, I have a conical gradient that I've created earlier today. And of course, if we change the year, we can see the whole conical gradient. Now, of course, this is something interesting. This is something we can work with. And it's very easy to set up. All you need is an image that you can put behind your visual, and then in your visual, if you go to Format Pane, Size and Style, turn off the background. And bada bing bada boom, you can have that. Of course, you need to play with the positioning of the image and the visual and with the inner space, but that's something that can be easily done. But there are still ways in which you can improve this visual. How? Well, let's look at the gauge, the visual that Power BI intends to use for targets. But unlike the Doughnut chart, over here you do have the result of the sales measure. And you can very easily see if you've hit the target or not, because obviously you have the target as well. And that gave me an idea. What if we can import this bit right here, where you have the result of the measure, into our Doughnut chart? Now, how can we import that into this visual? Well, very simple. All you need to do is add a card in the middle of it. That card will return a measure that can return pretty much anything you want. In this case, it shows how much we are under or over the target. Now that I've shown you the updates, let me show you what I don't like about the updates. First of all, let's get back to this visual. I'll reduce the spacing ever so slightly, let's say 50%, just to make it easier to see what I'm about to tell you. And second of all, let's select the to target measure and change the color for that one as well, let's say this orange. Now, one thing that I really don't like about how these borders turn out is the fact that you can see the color behind. Now, if you look closely, you see that the border doesn't cover the whole color. You still get a glimpse of the color of the measure, which is something I really don't like. As far as I'm concerned, this is a big mess, and this is something I've encountered when trying to add a gradient background for the bar charts as well. You might say this is a problem that only occurs in Power BI Desktop, and if we publish it, we won't have this issue. Well, we do. If you look closely, you see our colors tend to come true in this inner border on the outside as well. Even when you select a darker color for the border, you still can see those issues like right here. Now, given the fact that the only solution to this is to add yourself an image behind your visual, I don't really see this an improvement. But the fact that you can now set the transparency of the actual measure to 100% and see what's behind it, now that is an improvement, and that is something I can work with. And like I've shown you, I have worked with it, and we have this. So, will this change my mind and say I'll use pie charts and donut charts more? No, definitely not. I am still not a fan of them, and we all know with the pie charts, it's either you like them or you don't. I'm on the don't side. But they still have their place in the visual, so if you'd like to know exactly how I created this one, well, all you need to do is watch this video right here. And in that video, I have 3 more ways in which you can show if you've hit or not the target. This is Tedian signing off. Until next time, cheerio!